Great job by Andre Q, but nobody can touch. Oh, no way. Lebda so far has proven to be one of the best pairs.
This is something that this region is known for.
Oh, no way Hybrid hit that shot.
Nothing short of magnificent. No! He's trick shotting.
I mean, what an exciting time.
From this moment, welcome to Overwatch Contenders.
Calling all heroes Radiant Major 2. Registration is now open, guys. So make sure to sign up if you would like to sign up for the tournament. Registration closes on Tuesday, June 27th at 11:59 p.m. So make sure to sign up at start.gg/CAH_Major2. Make sure to look up all the information as well on how you can sign up and what makes you eligible. So that tournament coming up, you're not going to want to miss it. But you know what else you're not going to want to miss, Moxie, is this matchup coming up between Twisted Minds and Oblivione. We got a rematch and we had a grand finals. I mean, this is a bit of a grudge match that we have going on as Twisted Minds have looked dominant throughout, the round robin. In the playoffs, they look honestly equally as good. Oblivione trying to come back, as we just talked to W Maymone. Maybe they think they got a little bit of a game plan to work against Twisted Minds. They said macro they played well. Obviously on mechanical individual level, they said that they maybe faltered. So we'll have to see in this grand finals if anything's different, Moxie.
Oh, it's going to be interesting. That is for sure. So much has been leading up to this. Like, literally, so much. The bracket that you can see right here. It was always going to be a grudge match. Twisted Minds entirely undefeated at the moment, both in regulars and in playoffs. They'd sent both Triple and EXO down to the lower bracket, so no matter who was able to make it out of that last match, the rematch was there. But for both of these two teams, it's personal. EXO, 3 of the players that used to play under their old label, currently playing for Twisted Minds, but not only that, they're defending their crown. Remember, Twisted Minds did win our Pro-Am qualifiers for the Contenders section of it, but they didn't win Run It Back. So EXO are currently still the defending champions of both B-Sides and Run It Back in Contenders EMEA. So a lot is on the line for this label right now.
For sure. I mean, there's so much history between these two teams, and Twisted Minds at the moment are, like I said, looking to claim that crown and continue, their legacy so far in EMEA and really match the likes of Oblivione, like you mentioned, and also with even British Hurricane trying to continue on and make sure they're known as the team in the EMEA region. There's so many fantastic talent in general. I feel like, I believe, there's even Coach Kariv in here as well. And there's overall for Twisted Minds and Oblivione, so many individual players that are definitely being looked at to being picked up in the Overwatch League. A lot of them on World Cup rosters as well. I mean, they are at the peak of their gameplay. And, we talked to W Maymone, I feel like, Moxie, and, it seems like, obviously in this matchup, we might not see a lot of that same Sombra gameplay, but really a lot of this flexibility has kind of been pushed onto these players. That matchup in particular, we have to talk about with W Maymone, in that matchup as well against the likes of even Labda at points when he's going to be on the Pharah. I mean, do you think there's anything these guys are thinking of? Twisted Minds maybe going to mix things up? Do you think they're going to play that Pharah composition against the likes of Oblivione going up first, which is going to be a control map? Or do you think we're going to see that mirror that we saw yesterday?
Well, this is what's so dangerous about Twisted Minds, right? Not only are they one of the strongest, if not the strongest, at being able to run either that Pharah or Echo pocketed composition, their Sombra Tracer is one of the deadliest in the region as well. Quartz and Yubi are 2 players that you do not want to take your eyes off of. They are going places. That is for absolute sure. Previously playing for the Ultimates last year, package deal on that team, package deal on this team, and they're bringing that same synergy. Twisted Minds have 100% been watching that match play out as well between EXO and the likes of Triple Esports. They've seen that potentially Psycho is going to come in and be able to play towards some of those more flexible roles as being able to flex towards the Echo, and they are deciding right out of the gates that we're going to be seeing the Ram come out from this composition. Labda is not in. It is going to be a mirror.
Yep. UB versus W Maymone on that May, potentially, and then also the Sojourn of Quartz versus Cookie. I mean, the classic matchup between these two teams. Cookie, maybe, thinking of last game, right? Obviously, you got a little bit of a warm-up if you're the side of Psycho, but Cookie also, like I mentioned, didn't get to play that last game. So, always got to factor in that specific matchup. And speaking of which, Moxie, I don't think we expected Quartz to have as good of a Sojourn as he has been, because, this is obviously a great meta for Oblivione, because, Cookie won, like you mentioned back in, was it A-Sides? He won.
A-Sides, yeah.
A-Sides, he won on the Sojourn, and I think for him, he's obviously happy to be back on the Sojourn, one of his best heroes. But do you think in the matchup that Cookie still has, that same Sojourn of old, or has Quartz really been matching him to even overpassing him on that Sojourn at times?
I mean, both of them have had stellar pop-out moments, right? Both of them have had really clutch overclocks. Both of them have had really good railgun alt-fire shots. But, I mean, you want to play back into that history? Cookie used to play for Munich on A-Sides, and it was actually Munich versus Twisted Minds was the finals all the way back in A-Sides last year. So, once again, he is standing in between this team and finally being able to add the crown of a Contenders EMEA championship to their label, and we are just in for one heck of a match. If we do get to see that Sojourn versus Sojourn, it really is going to be alt-fire for alt-fire, overclock for overclock. Every single inch that these teams take is going to be drawn out by so much blood, so much pressure on every single player's shoulders, and we're going to be starting off, as we always do, on Control, but with no Farahs coming into play, it's going to be Nepal that we head to instead.
Yeah, no more of the Antarctic Peninsula as for now. And we do, like I said, we do mention Quartz and Cookie, and obviously there's 10 players in the lobby, so realistically there's other fantastic talent with Slay, Kelix in the backline. Kanale and Crispy or Kanale in particular last game played amazing. And then also that May matchup between UB and W Maymone, and also potentially even some Sombra coming through. A lot of that flexibility between those two players has been incredibly prominent and really was taking place especially yesterday. I mean, obviously we had W Maymone finding opening picks, UB doing so as well. Besides both of these Ramachas pumping out that damage, staying alive from the back line. I mean, it feels like both these teams are relatively evenly matched. However, Twisted Minds always seem to get that edge. Why do you think that is, Moxie? Why are Twisted Minds kind of a little ahead in that department, or were ahead yesterday against Oblivione?
I mean, you heard it from Maymone himself, right? He did admit that macro was on point. It was micro plays, especially on that first map of Control, where it took so long for EXO to be able to find their footing against Twisted Minds, and we saw Twisted Minds in control of the point, in control of the ultimate economy. It was literally to a point where EXO just were forced to throw their ultimates in after each other to try to scrabble for any purchase on that point, and Twisted Minds just get to sit back and allow EXO to play themselves out of a series. I think going in today, EXO will have looked back at that match. They'll have looked back and saying, okay, maybe we shouldn't have done this here. Maybe we should have conceded this fight when it was this point, rather than throwing an ultimate in or trying to stagger it out and look for some trades, which did happen a lot of the time. They were not quick to concede defeat. I think, honestly, the worst bit was when Cookie went for that attempted trade on Blizzard World, and it just meant he got staggered out of respawning with the team so late, and then they C9'd on Blizzard World B as a result. That's something that's glaringly obvious both to us and the team. So they're going to look back at that and go, we're not doing that today. And we're going to get a much more balanced matchup between these two today as a result.
Yesterday got ugly. We saw so many people, like, mistakes on both teams, not touching that payload, not focusing on the objective. But that's kind of, to be fair, that's what happens in Overwatch. There's a lot going on. It's one of the most, if not the most chaotic game that I can think of in general, right? I think a lot of people watching this know this at this point. When you watch Overwatch, you're going to be in for a bit of a, spaghetti noodle, fight. A lot of crazy abilities flying over the place. So many players doing things. 10 players in the lobby. A lot of them with movement abilities, potentially Tracer, Sombra, also individual abilities on the game. And, with a lot going on, a lot of these players sometimes tend to forget the overall objective, which can be pretty funny, right? There's a reason why it's a bit of a meme. Guys, the payload, guys, that's three. It was like, what, three? Not C9s, but general times where, the point was either captured with under the nose or something. It was like, was it that many times?
Yes, it was a wash. Honestly, I lost count. We saw it on Blizzard World. We saw it on
from yesterday.
Shambali. which was just an absolute shambles. But this is going to be, I'm sure, a series to be able to keep an eye on. And if you want to keep an eye on one particular team, let us know in chat who you think you're going to actually see come out on top. But Twisted Mind's going to be able to retain their dominance and continue the entire season undefeated. Hit us up with a #1 in chat if so. Or do you think EXO are going to be able to steal back the crown and keep that championship title underneath their label? Hit us up with 2.
Or you can do a 3 if you want to be a jerk and just mess with everything.
Yeah,
or a 0s. 1 or 0 or 3. Okay, actually, I'm pretty sure the moderators in our Twitch stream or YouTube stream would be like, please, can you not do that right now? Like, can we just like actually get a poll going on? But listen here, maybe the Peps fans are like, guys, Peps, what about Peps? Where's our 9s at for Peps that ended up in, where did they end? Like 5th, 6th place? Wait, they ended up pretty low. Anyways, Peps taking random shots from me. I apologize to Peps fans, but we're obviously going into Nepal first, Moxie. And between both of these teams, we see that mirror matchup a lot of the time, and I doubt this is going to be any different.
Yeah, I mean, you have to, right? If you've got one Sojourn, just because of the fact that Sojourn can immediately look for a one-shot squishy target, with that ult fire, you need to run another Sojourn to be able to keep them in check. I think the closest comparison to any other Overwatch hero is Widowmaker.
Yep. Widowmaker indeed is one of the only ones. And also, sorry to Peps fans, okay? They got 7th through 8th place, okay? So maybe 7 or 8s for Peps fans in chat, but obviously, bit
Peps just won
of
the polls, okay? Like, literally, Peps fans, whenever there was a Peps included
Moxie, you're not going to win. Just because you won the moral victory doesn't mean you still didn't take an L and end up 7th through 8th, man. Listen, I know there. I've been there so many times with the Atlanta Reign taking L's. That's why I got replaced, and eventually they started winning. That's a big factor, is having a lot of these players that can do better than 7th through 8th. Obviously, Peps have a lot of talent on their team, and we're taking the little bit of the conversation away from Twisted Minds and Oblivione, which is my fault. But, between these two teams, they've obviously shown so much dominance throughout the year, right? That cannot be understated. I feel like a lot of people kind of undersell EMEA and the EMEA region, like, oh my God, all these one tricks are so good at the moment, But I see so many social media comments complaining about, EMEA being one tricks and stuff, but they don't understand that Twisted Minds, have that versatility in the roster. A lot of that is being specialists, and then also, being able to have those flexible players like Yubi, like W Maymon, who can switch to the Mei, to the Sombra, to the Genji even at points, and sometimes the Tracer and Yubi's side. So there is a lot of flexibility in these players, and that's why they've been as strong as they have been while maintaining the level of a lot of the specialists.
Well, here we go. Grand Finals. EXO versus Twisted Minds going to be kicking things off on Nepal Village, and no one going to be going for that point. Instead, it's just going to be a brawl over high ground.
Maywall used already early from Yubi. Amon still holding on to his. Maywall now drops it, but doesn't really catch off KSA on that left side. KSA understanding Pistola is a little bit low. They wall him off. They've done this previously. We saw this exact thing, pretty sure, happen yesterday. There goes the lamp already. Pistola taking a lot of damage and now gets pummeled down by KSA. But this time, Cookie is the one to trade it back with the railgun shot, charge that up. However, once you lose your Amatra, pretty hard to still take a team fight. They look for some poke damage via main. Maybe they could find a pick, but Twisted Minds end up with the point first.
Yeah, it's Yubi's Maywall. It forces Vestor into using that Nemesis bomb far too early to be able to keep himself sustained until the wall is broken and the lamp can come through. As a result, he loses block. Well, KSA gets to have his.
Oh, no!
Through that shield, his Quartz is disrupted. Shot finds Maymon. And that's going to be EXO not able to find a clean re-engagement through choke. They're going to lose their players yet again, and you can see it from Kanel, the acceptance in his eyes as he just stands still so he gets to regroup with his team a little bit faster.
Yeah, this is definitely a wake-up call, Moxie. Switching back from obviously playing against the Farah teams, now going against that Mermat Mir. See if they can eventually kind of regroup together. Only 33% of the board. 2 team fights already lost. Oblivione building towards that Blizzard. Maymon very close towards it, actually at 80. Meanwhile, Kanel has the Ant Matrix. So they're actually winning in terms of that side of the ult game, although KSA already has built up that Ramatra ultimate, so he could easily stop this push. They decide to rotate back towards that point, avoid the Ant Matrix. Already one ultimate used for Oblivione. Meanwhile, Railgun shot has been built up for Quartz on that right angle, and he hits Crispy with it. Nice work from him to open up that shot. Also has built up the overclock to Oblivione. Want to commit some ultimates. They have walled off the point. They also drop that Blizzard, but here comes that Ant Matrix. They also have the they also have the Immortality field to keep up that frontline. Quartz also with another railgun shot takes out Kanel. They've gotten that 2K to enable them in this point, and as well as take out the ultimates of Oblivione.
Echo don't even find the flip that they were looking for. They try and wall off the point so they can drop the Blizzard and find it, so even if they lose it, they're at least able to pick up some percentage. But KSA with Annihilation, as well as Slay with the Amp and Kellis with the Soundbite, there's just so much sustainability for the team for Twisted Minds, and they do not allow the flip to come through. So we're about to hit into Final Fight territory, and EXO have 2 ultimates to work with.
Walk out through the high ground against that railgun overclock from Quartz. Cookie does have one to counter it, but also that Blizzard is there into that front line. 97, 98. Who's going to touch on the side of Oblivione? It looks like nobody can touch that objective. And Moxie, we're getting shades of yesterday after that 100-0 with Twisted Minds on round 1.
Deja vu. We have been very much in this same place before, Dustin, and I am concerned. Like you said, it could just be EXO trying to take that adaptation of moving from dealing with the tempo of a Pharah and Echo heralded team to that mirror matchup where the same utilities are there, because there have been a couple of micro mistakes on EXO's side that Twisted Minds have immediately been able to take advantage of, and that has got to be something that very quickly changes. Otherwise, this map, this entire series, is going to run away from EXO.
70-30, obviously, from the chat predictions of Twisted Minds. Make sure to use our hashtag, guys, OWPTP2023 via Twitter if you want to join the conversation. Your tweets will be on the broadcast. Yesterday, we had a lot of people coming through being like, hey, guys, I'm on TV. Look at me. And, I mean, you can do the same thing, or you can be a little more insightful than if you want. Meanwhile, the fight's going on. KSA rotates towards that health pack on the right side to control that angle. Meanwhile, Cookie taking a very, very distant angle to build that railgun shot. Needs some healing, though, so he has to fall back towards his team. Twisted Minds in a little bit of an advantageous position with Quartz still in this fight, but after getting those heals, Cookie falls back to the left side. Bit of a Sojourn duel happening over there. Meanwhile, Oblivione has to press the go key. They go immediately in Twisted Minds, force the immortality field, drop their own. Cookie has taken that out. That's the advantage for them. Meanwhile, UB just holding left click, getting a lot of that damage done. Meanwhile, KSA is taking out his counterpart, is still healthy as well after going into pummel form and just removing everybody from the lobby. This dude is amazing on Ramatra.
UB's positioning too, like you said, Twisted Minds are in a far more favorable position when that fight occurs, because they don't actually have to fight in that really close single file almost lane. They have that space to be able to pull back without having to worry about environmentally being knocked off of the map by Crispy, something that EXO don't, so they get funneled right into KSA, and then they primary open, UB! It's Cookie Spencer impacting an EXO in retreat immediately.
Nice work from UB. Oh my god, what a great main player there. Look at the confidence on these guys too, going out into the middle, near towards the spawn doors, and actually finding those delay picks, the staggers. They got 5 ultimates now next 5 months.
Yeah, 5 ultimates, positioning to be able to set back to make sure that they can punish when EXO have to try and push out from these smaller enclosed spaces. KSA isn't even going to be the first target that they run into at the moment. He's just going to be around that corner, making sure that no one from EXO can cheekily flip that point.
He's looking through the glass. Like, I think of the Spylo moment. Remove the glass! Meanwhile, amplification matrix used on the left side. Blizzard counter from UB enables Quartz to find the opening pick again. Onto Vistola. The beat drop was not there in time to save him. Kelix also finds W. Maybe on immortality field. Not in this fight yet either, or gets removed rather for Canale on that right side. Gets also shoved back to the choke off of a Blizzard, and then immediate railgun follow-up shot from Quartz.
And I mean, it nullifies the overlap of support ultimates from EXO immediately. They try to use the Sound Barrier and the Amp Matrix to be able to sustain with that Baptiste ultimate, but the Blizzard just means that they can't stand in that space, and Twisted Minds now can just pull Quartz back, hit a Disruptor shot, and to make sure that EXO aren't able to escape, and force them still with both the Amp and the Overclock.
Blizzard tries to get zoned out from the side of Twisted Minds, but Crispy's already found KSA with the boot, but UB through the Ant Matrix kills Cookie on the point while the railgun shot currently built up after Overclock goes away. Quartz still trying to fight this, even though they're down KSA via the Disruptor shot, but unfortunately, it's a bit too much to deal with the Ramatra without your own. Cookie potentially gets staggered, and in fact, he does. Oblivione flip that point to make sure no 99 or 100-0 happens this time.
Oh no!
He's fine, he's fine, he's fine. He's good.
He's okay, they don't push. Oh man, if Maymoon had been taken out early, that would have been devastating. They need to use these May walls to split these players from Twisted Minds. If they can wall off Kelix when that Time Barrier comes through, huge.
Now they use the walls on both sides. Overclock used from Cookie defensively, but it's against that beat drop from Kelix, who gets maximum value, also with the Annihilation. KSA runs immediately forward. They notice Vistola is still pressuring at the back line, so Cookie takes a sight line looking at him. Now they come back into KSA, who's all alone, but by himself, he's been able to live, and now the rest of his team has rotated to the point, and even though Vistola found some value at the very end, he's only able to find one, not able to rotate to the point with his life. Now it's just Cookie with the beat drop of Crispy to try to find some kills against Twisted Minds, who are yes, a bit split. You still have Vistola back in this fight. The Ant Matrix was utilized by Kaneo previously, but now he can't actually use it. The rest of Oblivione rotate towards the point to try to find some recontest, but they can't versus Twisted Minds, who just take them out to get the 2-0 on Paul.
Yeah, it's that advantage that you get granted when you win that first fight on a control point that Twisted Minds are able to just take and run away with. They've got the positioning, they've got that really nice far back angle for Quartz on that Sojourn to just continue to pressure these players of EXO, forcing those cooldowns so much earlier than the other side as they walk through, just trying to keep everyone alive in those rotations. And as a result, we see EXO, well, they're getting pressured out by just cooldown utility, like things like the May Icicle, the wall, and all the structure shots coming through from Quartz. They have to throw things like blizzards right into that back to make sure that Quartz doesn't get that angle, and that eats into their ultimate economy. Overall, something that Twisted Minds immediately take advantage of as they lose that fight and have to push back through a choke, but there's just no ultimates to keep them in place.
And guys, this is a first of 4, so obviously the first team to win 4 games will get the victory in the grand finals. Twisted Minds take that map number 1 pretty convincingly, Moxie. And, you know, I want to get your take on this potentially, because obviously with Oblivione in the previous game, they played against the Pharah team. Do you think there's a bit of a, you know, lack of adjusting, or it's a hard time adjusting rather, versus that mirror matchup, a little bit of the pacing and stuff? Do you think that's throwing Oblivione out of whack at the moment? Or do you think Twisted Minds are just that dominant of a team where they get a pretty convincing one on Nepal in that fashion?
So I think it's a bit of both. Again, Twisted Minds are a very aggressive team. They are not going to sit back and wait for you to settle into tempo. And for Vistola especially, when you move from Diva to Ramatra, 2 worlds entirely, because Ram's peel, practically non-existent. Your peel is essentially, you put the shield up, you put the zone up, you hope you're going to be able to save your back line, as opposed to when you're playing that Diva. And you're constantly on super high alert, right? You're having to be looking up into the sky to spot the Pharah, you're having to play spy check in case there's something like a Sombra or a Tracer trying to sneak through and hit into your back line. You're zipping around from the front to the back of your defense matrix trying to cover everyone. It's hyperactive compared to the very slow glacial burn of a Ramatra in that poke phase before you have to go super aggressive into that Nemesis form. And it's something that we were seeing Yubi take advantage of. Every single time he saw Vistola about to make a move forward, up comes the May wall, the Ramatra gets zoned away, and it's such an early lamp forced away from EXO's side that just snowballs into a lack of utility being up for the rest of the team.
So you think it's more Twisted Minds just playing up to that level, less than, you know, Oblivione having a bit of a hard time adjusting?
Yeah, I think like at certain points there were mistakes coming through from EXO's side, but again, Twisted Minds are a team that are going to force those mistakes to happen. If they see the rest of the team just out of a single step, right? 1 second is all it can take for a May to identify that they're not as close to that Ram as they should be, that Vistola is pushing forward thinking that maybe he has that mobility that is granted to him for a Diva, because remember, when you're on Diva, you have the boosters. Not only can you peel far better, but if a May walls you off the way that we saw Vistola potentially being caught out before, you would literally just hit shift and boost over. You didn't have to worry about that cooldown. And as a result, they got to play a lot more aggressive with that frontline push. But now we're seeing him being separate away from his team. And it feels like sometimes it's a little bit of a misstep, but a lot of the time it's just Twisted Minds forcing that issue for EXO to have to deal with.
Well, Blizzard World will be our next map. Obviously, leading up to this one yesterday, we had a very, very close Blizzard World. In fact, between these two teams, it could still go in the favor of Oblivione. But like you said, yeah, Vistola is a bit maybe not out of sync. It just feels like the playstyle is quite different between these two teams. Twisted Minds always rotate around KSA, really try to enable his aggressive playstyle. Meanwhile, Vistola, I feel like every time he's like in the back line of the enemy team, he looks back to see where his team is, and then they're all in like Narnia. You know, they're all like 10 years away from him, and that's, like you said, it's a lot of that pressure from like Yubi and KSA really preventing them, I guess, from pushing forward.
it's not just that as well, but if you think about it too, the tank has to be the one to like take that forward position against the Sojourn to try and figure out the information of where everyone is. We saw from KSA, you pointed it out yourselves, when they're actually pushing through that choke, KSA isn't in that forward position to meet them. He's looking through the glass to figure out whether or not they're going to swing left or right to be able to set up whether or not they need to pull further back or they need to move forward to intercept before they're able to rotate onto that point. And as a result, Vestola is the one who's having to use a lot of those utilities very early on because he's the one taking that first initial poke pressure to come through from Quartz and Yubi before they're even able to figure out where those two DPS are playing from.
I'm going to ask you a bit of a dumb question here, Moxie. Do you think they should remove the glass on that map on Sanctum?
Okay, I like it.
I mean, like, not there specific. I mean, Antarctic Peninsula glass, obviously, that's a bit of a different topic. But should they remove the glass on Nepal? Oh, it's Coliseum. Yeah, my bad. I think the people have said that for. I feel like there's like glass everywhere now. You know, I mean, like there's even some windows. I feel like in this game that like, okay, this is a bit of a different rant, I suppose. But like, I'm like, I go play in the map, and there's like some things that are supposed to be a window, and then you just can't see through them. Like, why are all of the windows in Overwatch so dirty?
We're gonna get like a tier list of windows. I would say Havana S tier. Like you can see so much information from your spawn point. A lot of the time, I'm able to figure out whether there's a Widow or a Hanzo or even a Torbjorn on the high ground when they're defending because of that window. Junkertown, really annoying actually to try and figure out. I guess it's meant to be like it's the sniper fielded map, but if you're trying to like see through the windows of Junkertown spawn room, they're so hard. Sometimes you have to like swap to specific heroes with heights and be able to crouch to make sure that you get a better POV. But hey, Blizzard World doesn't have that. No windows here.
No, but the window, that's what I mean. The windows that do exist are like cosmetic. You know what I mean? Like they're actually just nothing. You just look into them and nothing. And the spawn door windows, you're right, you can always look through those. But yeah, generally, I don't know. There's just so many dang windows in this game where I'm like, dude, what like, why can't I look into this? Like, I want to go see whatever's hanging out in here. Like, what's in this little spot? But okay, enough fill from us, guys. We're going into Blizzard World, obviously leading up into the next map. And, you know, it was a very close game between these two teams yesterday on this map, Moxie. I think, obviously... Why'd you make a face? I saw you make a face. Why? I mean, there was the C9s that happened, obviously, right?
I'm concerned. Okay, we've already seen one hit us on the Fell Village. I am concerned that we're gonna see more of the same. Because I think like that most of all signifies just how hectic communications can become. A lot of the time, teams when they are fighting on the back foot will just focus on trying to find those kills and equalize the numbers because they're putting micro and mechanicals in so much more of a rated position of power as opposed to being able to play that macro with the objective.
Oxy, look, it's raining outside. It's your territory.
Can we get some of that here? I would love to have some rain right now. We're in the throes of a heat wave from the UK.
Yeah, the one time in the UK where it doesn't rain like that. Dude, WMamon also dealing with this heat wave as well in that region of Europe. Hashtag OWPTP 2023 if you want to join the conversation. How hot is it where you live? Actually, probably gotta get an AC check to see for you guys in Europe. Okay, Twisted Minds obviously locking the similar composition that they had before. Oblivione opting to run the mirror again.
Yeah, no life weaver with Widowmaker. It sounds out of spawn, so Exo will be safe up on that high ground, but they do choose to give it up and back. They have that natural cover to fall behind in case Quartz gets a little bit too charged up on the Sojourn.
Going into the railgun shot, goes to the left side, and Vestola already finds Yubi with just a lot of pressure from him running towards that backline. They want to play as aggressive as can be at the moment. It's working out for them. They did lose Kanale, but they found two. Quartz, though, trades it back with some expert placed railgun shots. Nice work from him. Yubi also coming back on the Tracer in this fight to try to come back quickly to make sure they still have a chance here. And as long as Quartz is alive, he goes incredibly low, but he's going to get healed up temporarily. Twisted Minds rotate around the point. Yubi is now back onto that Tracer, but no more Maywalls because of it. We'll see if it adjusts. If this adjustment works out for Twisted Mind. Vestola runs through. There's that Maywall onto KSA, but they just break his shield now. Have to run towards him, really trying to make sure that he has a lot of that pressure on him, but he now goes into the block form, gets some heals, also throws Immortality Field. So does Kanale on the other side. Vestola goes incredibly low, and Yubi finds him. Even though they had a lot of the aggressive space, they still lose Vestola in this fight. They drop the Ant Matrix to try to equalize it, but everybody's healthy because of the beat drop of Kellogson. Because of that push, Quartz now pushes forward. to get Canale out of the fight. Cookie, though, trades it back. It doesn't matter because Twisted Minds have captured point A.
Yeah, it's the same sort of problem that we saw from EXO yesterday. Sometimes they just take a little bit too long to concede that they've lost that point, and they throw an ultimate in, which then eats into overall economy for the rest of this map, because as you move through Choke, you do have a Blizzard, you do have an Overclock to be able to combine with it, but Amp Matrix to be able to go toe-to-toe with Slays is going to be instrumental in keeping a hold of this space, because yeah, they see the Blizzard potential, and they just drop Amp.
Drop the amp on that cart, and Quartz connects through the sky as well onto Canale. I mean, this guy does not miss. At the moment, Kelix also finds W Maymon. And yesterday's game was close. So far, Twisted Minds are making sure that they're just stopping Oblivione in every angle.
Did they cancel Maymon's Blizzard?
Hey.
It got used, but no one from Twisted Minds got frozen. I think he actually went down in the throw animation.
Potentially.
That is another ultimate now gone from the members of EXO. They're going to be relying on either Annihilation or Overclock, but both these things Twisted Minds can just hide from, and they're lacking that burst heal from Canale, who gets picked out early by Quartz with that high ground purge. EXO are going to have to drop down and commit to this fight. They've got the sound barrier to sustain, but they're lacking in Baptiste.
Yeah, but on the other side, you know, Twisted Minds are missing Quartz, so they don't have a lot of that railgun and pressure. So it seems like Oblivione just want to keep holding this high ground for now. Wait last second to drop if they possibly can. Beat drop committed from Crispy. Oblivione now press the go key. Like you mentioned, KSA sitting with the Annihilation, pops it as well to pressure W Maymon and Pistola. Pistola pops his own Immortality Field used by Slay. Cookie gets rid of it with his Overclock via the high ground as well. No kills just yet from him either. The Annihilation pressuring out the payload, and now Cookie connects onto Yubi with that railgun shot. Nice job from Oblivione to stop that made from continuing on forward. Quartz has shown in the past they can hit shots to maybe equalize these fights, so they commit the Ant Matrix because of it, and he does so. Quartz gets rid of Cookie. That's an important pickoff. Ant Matrix committed by Canale now because of it, and as long as Twisted Minds are healthy with Quartz, they can keep pushing forward. They have a beat drop against no beat drop. Maymon forced to use Ice Block as well and fall back towards that cart. Twisted Minds, knowing they have the advantage, want to press the go key towards that cart, and they do so. They commit the Blizzard from Yubi. Immortality Field used, but he's dead immediately. Counter Blizzard from W Maymon onto that cart, but doesn't actually connect onto anybody. In fact, it's the rest of Oblivione who ran on. Eventually, Kelix pops the beat drop, which is not entirely necessary, but they capture out the second point regardless.
Yeah, really good Blizzard as well coming through from Yubi. Actually catches Vestola, the wall then, to make sure that Canale doesn't get that line of sight to be able to keep healing the Ram. Has to throw the lamp, but is already a little bit late. And as a result, they lose that tank. They try to counter Blizzard with Maymons, but they just don't have the damage nor the tank body to be able to push back onto Twisted Minds, and as a result, Quartz has that snowball position. He's got the high ground hold. He's got the railgun on fire, misses the one tap and has to slide back. And Vestola does find KSA, so this is Twisted Minds finally on the retreat.
It's falling all the way back to Maywall from Yubi is great, but unfortunately for them, it gets deleted immediately, and Oblivione now will fall back with 3 minutes and 15 seconds left. Slay has built that Ant Matrix. No Immortality Field cooldown available for Oblivione, so Twisted Minds know that. They push forward now into Pistola, so if he's caught out, he's going to go down incredibly fast. They pop a counter Ant Matrix from Canale's side. Surely he has that cooldown now back up. Quartz goes down to Cookie as well. Nice railgun shot from him to counter that push from Oblivione. Now there's no more one-shot potential unless the side of Twisted Minds commits more ultimates. Unfortunately for them, they're still going to go back to the spawn doors because Cookie hits yet again another shot onto Slay, and eventually KSA goes incredibly low and falls too. The stagger kill is there. Oblivione slowly finding their footing at the moment.
Yeah, they're going to have this corner as well. This is really punishing for Twisted Minds to walk through. You can see that EXO do understand that there are a couple of other approaches that Twisted Minds could take. If they go through main, they have to walk directly into that long angle that Cookie's holding with the Overclock as opposed to Quartz, who can pop the Overclock but have to slide into the Blizzard.
Yeah, immediately Pistola goes into the backline, waiting to pop the Annihilation. He does so now. Blizzard used from Yubi to zone off Pistola. Pistola escapes that May ultimate as well. As W Maymon's was popped, Canale finds KSA. Quartz does trade back W Maymon. As long as Quartz is alive, it's still doable, but Yubi eventually will get found by Cookie. And slowly but surely, EXO are doing a great job at this phase of the objective around this corner. Perfectly timed team fights.
Yeah, they survived the aggressive ult dump as well, coming through from Twisted Minds. Overclock and Blizzard both used to try and buy Quartz in on that fight, but actually doing a very good job of positioning away from the Sojourn as Pistola actually sees KSA go past and decides to push back onto the team, but KSA is the one with Annihilation.
Yeah, maybe wanted a better decision to fall back in that fight, but KSA still getting value out of the ultimate. Eventually will run out. Slay, though, gets that value, finds Canale, even though they lost one. KSA is still able to do whatever he wants, and Quartz also with the follow-up to 1 minute and 22 seconds left. Fantastic engage from Twisted Minds.
Yeah, both Rams trying the exact same strategy, run past the other, straight into the rest of the team, but only one of them has the ultimate, and it's continuing to chunk those health bars down as EXO don't have an ultimate to stand on. Twisted Minds have both sustain ults, Sound Barrier and Amp to hold their ground.
Looks jumping above the point. Ant Matrix used May Wall from Maymon to zone out for Vistola, but he's still taking poke. He needs to get those heals, but they're still looking at him through the Ant Matrix. The wall is there as well to stop the lamp from hitting there in time. Now Kelix drops the beat, so they go aggressive. Oblivione has nothing to counter this besides Cookie with that one-shot potential. Crispy's desperately trying to find something in the back line, but unfortunately, his entire team is dead. Now 37 seconds left. Vistola comes through to try to touch, but cannot. Twisted Minds capture out on Blizzard with 36 seconds.
Oh, it's such a good Ant Matrix from Twisted Minds. The fact that they're able to just lock and confirm that Vistola can only stay in that corner. Has to use the Nemesis bomb incredibly early. Wall comes through from UV, like you said as well, to make sure that he's not able to cross back to the rest of his team. And the second that the Ram is gone, it's just a shooting gallery for Quartz and UV. I mean, the entirety of the map was just a shooting gallery for Quartz and UV. Some of those hits they were able to find. Cookie was doing his job too, especially when we hit into point C, but the damage had been done. A and B was picked up far too quickly, and Twisted Minds just had to bank up ultimates.
We also have to bear in mind, right? Cookie was, sitting on the bench in that last matchup versus Triple Esports, right? He was obviously, had to sit out as his team played without him, so I'm sure he was practicing in like a warm-up custom game or something. But, we have to bear in mind that Cookie's slowly trying to get back into the series. Twisted Minds, though, looks like they are even stronger than they did yesterday at the moment, Moxie. What a terrifying team.
They're just getting so much more value from these trades, right? Whether they find a kill, whether or not they're able to force an ultimate from the other side, even if it's ult for ult, it feels like they're the ones who instigate, but even once the fight ends, because they're just so good at keeping all of these players alive, the healing coming through from Slay and Kelix, insane. The peel coming through from KSA and the positioning from Movie and Quartz to not being caught out as well, just all firing on all cylinders for this entire team right now.
This is a rough meta to find yourself against the likes of Twisted Minds, but Oblivione, if any team could do it, it's them, right? They swap over to Ashe, Cookie, instead of playing that Sojourn. That's an interesting switch from him, isn't it?
Yeah, so you have more long-term value. Dynamite you can throw over and behind that Ram Shield. They're not running the Kiriko, so you're not going to be able to cleanse it. Bob can be really good as well for contesting points, but you don't have the one-shot potential. That's there for Quartz.
Quartz, like you mentioned, has that one shot to deal with the backline. Maybe the Ashe said maybe a little bit of those dynamites could find some value in that back line, as well as Yubi goes down to half HP, needs some heals from Slay. KSA as well goes incredibly low towards the middle of the point, not playing around the cover until just about now goes in the Hummel form, and as is Vistola. So both, just kind of flexing on each other at the moment. It seems like Vistola presses the go key first. Cookie as well with the follow-up is there. Onto that backside split. Twisted Minds. Quartz goes down incredibly low. So does Yubi, but Quartz doesn't matter how low he goes. He still takes down Crispy. Cookie's there with the trait, though. Immortality field to keep Vistola healthy. They're trying to hit him with those shots, although they're a bit smaller now after some Baptiste nerfs that happened a while ago. Vistola goes towards the middle of that point, towards KSA to push him back. And Yubi still above the high ground during that fight. Drops the May ult as well. Yubi, fantastic play from him to drop above the high ground like a superhero. Connects onto Oblivione's backline. And then also onto W. Maymon. 2 down. Make that 3. Yubi, that's a 3K. Cookie, though, does trade it back, but not after the entirety of his team is removed. Crispy and Cookie will get delayed.
I mean, Yubi is just doing magic. That entire push. EXO try and keep Cookie on that high ground so that he can just continue to use things like the dynamite and those shots to pressure the members of Twisted Minds. On to that point, they have to go, they have to contest. But Yubi just comes through with that freeze. It doesn't actually like stop you from moving, but it still slows you and it does so much damage. And he drops down, forces Cookie off of the high ground, drops down into the backline, forces the lamp, and then shreds the entire backline afterwards.
I feel like W. Minmon's a great May, but man, Yubi on the other side has been playing amazing. Bob goes into the back of Twisted Minds. Also, Blizzard connects onto KSA. The Bob is removed from Slay, but not after they've already lost their teammate in the Ramatra of Twisted Minds. 2 ticks now given to Oblivione because they don't have that tank member on their side. Bastola also still has the Annihilation, waiting to pop it. Opts to not use it because they know they have the advantage. Immortality Field tries to save Yubi on the point, but the take is there for Oblivione. They now move on to second phase.
Yeah, they're able to bait out the Mage utility incredibly early on because Twisted Minds have to have Yubi drop from the high ground to the low to contest, and as a result has to use that wall so that Cookie's Bob doesn't just absolutely shred his health up on touching and looking for that contest. And finally they can take him down without the means to be able to stall out for the heal to come through from the rest of his team. Exo now trying to keep control of this high ground. Twisted Minds, however, want it too, and both of the ramps have ultimate, so if it does get dirty, they can both use it to keep control of this space.
And no Blizzard's going to be big. Yubi's going to have to build it up mid-team fight. Overclock, though, available from Quartz. We have to pay attention to the ultimates at the moment. Neither team really going first just yet. Quartz pops that ultimate, but immediately it's into a beat. Ant Matrix and ultimate from Bastola. They don't want Twisted Minds to get any value out of that Overclock or the Ant Matrix. Oblivione win that fight straight up.
Yeah, EXO understanding that they do not want the payload to be stuck in that place, because if they lose a fight, they lose control of high ground. They also lose control of that choke. So KSA can just zone them as they come through, Yubi can wall, and Quartz can just hit the shots and pick them up from afar. Quartz, by the way, swapping onto the Widowmaker. But this is going to be really interesting. He has that one tap. Granted, no one from EXO actually has the ability to be able to jump on top of them. And from the distance, he can just play bouncer. They have to work straight into his problem.
Oh my God.
Gets picked off instantly.
What a shot from Quartz as well. Maymone's May ultimate Blizzard was going to be the fight-changing ultimate for Oblivione against KSA's Annihilation, but in this fight, it's not. Nice shot from him.
Quartz. It's not going to be playing what you would expect a Widow to be playing from either. They do spot him out. He goes for a little bit of poke towards Bastola as Cookie trying to keep control of that high ground. Wall used incredibly early as well, doesn't quite reach all the way through, so he still has a little corner. He's going to be able to find some of those squishies, has to use that grapple 12-second cooldown, but the wall actually catches Bastola away from his team. They have to break it and use Nemesis Bomb early. They're going to have to wait for that knight to come back and cooldown.
Rotate from Oblivione down below, but Quartz, oh my God, again onto Canale. The longer that this rotation is, the more time you enable this Widowmaker to pop off, and as long as Quartz finds those one picks, he's already getting maximum value. He doesn't need to get any more. Now Yubi and the rest of Twisted Minds, you know, they split up Oblivione. Now a minute and 30 seconds left. Oblivione have to wait for the teammate back to come back from spawn.
We've been here before. They've lost one of their players. They have to wait the full 30 seconds. And Quartz now can just pop in for sight. I know exactly where all those squishies are coming from. There's no way that they try this without a shield.
What the heck? They are okay. Nice movement to get inside. Obviously ducking the head down to make sure no headshot. But now they're against the Blizzard, and they've already committed so much brain power into trying to deal with the Widowmaker. They completely forgot about Yubi, who drops down below with the Blizzard onto the main of Oblivione, and no ultimates used for them either. Besides that, Bob Cookie does trade back Yubi. They have some heals there, but just get cleaned up by KSA.
And they don't bait Twisted Minds into overcommitting either. Twisted Minds are looking at the time bank. They're seeing that there's less than a minute left. That Maymoon's going to have a Blizzard, Canale's going to have that amp, and they hold on to Annihilation, which is going to have to force Maymoon into using it to peel. Cookie now, off of the Ash, understanding he needs that one-shot potential that's available for Quartz, he's onto the hand zone.
Yeah, I think there's a bit of a reason why we've seen maybe some Blizzard comments recently about a lot of these one-shot characters, at least Widowmaker, but that's why Quartz shuts down Canale as the recontest came through. But Cookie, oh my God, what a shot onto Quartz after they lost the Baptiste, though. So they don't have a lot of heals. Canale's going to have to come back onto the Moira. 10 seconds left. We're entering overtime territory. Crispy will have the beat drop. Canale will come back towards this fight, so we'll have a 5 versus 5. Bastola desperately trying to build the Annihilation, but it's Cookie again! Kills Quartz in the spawn doors as he attempted to come back. The Annihilation is still up for KSA, waiting above the high ground, just making sure the cart doesn't push further. Still just being that bouncer towards the end of that checkpoint. Cookie now wants to go over the top, looking for that back of Slay. Isn't able to get the one shot now because of the beat of Kelix. KSA is also frozen because of a Blizzard down below, but eventually will come out of it. Is split from his team as the Annihilation of Bastola is still aggressive onto the backline, but Quartz now gets the better of that trade. Takes out Cookie in this fight. Immortality Field used as well to sustain versus Bastola and his ultimate. It's still happening, but it doesn't even matter because the Ant Matrix is here from Slay, and the Blizzard as well is connecting from UB. Twisted Minds stop Oblivione in that second phase, and now go up 2 in the series.
That final fight is so close. Both of those Ram ultimates, if we were on second patch after Rapid released, and we got to see that just eternal annihilation. Would not have been surprised, but as it is, all of those players still having to touch the objective, still having to occupy that space, contributing to keeping that ultimate in play. But again, it's Quartz, the long angle on the Widowmaker, able to not be locked down, able to play that distance and pick apart the members of Twisted Minds who have no choice to remain inside the annihilation, remain on that objective for as long as possible.
Twisted Minds are looking like an absolute super team at the moment, Moxie. You know, with the current lineup and the current meta, it does feel like they have a large advantage with Quartz, you know, flexing over to that Sojourn, proving that, you know, he is probably the best hit scan in EMEA at the Raging Cookie's trying to, you know, fight back. But when you also have to deal with Yubi on the other side on the Mei, it's very to get anything done. And now Twisted Minds are up 2 in the series for this first of 4. They still have some cushion to work with. We could still see that comeback potential for Oblivione as they move forward. But obviously, going in that 0-2 deficit, it's got to be rough for EXO so far.
Yeah, it's going to be a dent to the confidence as well, right? Because the Ashe was working. It was working brilliantly. They picked up point A, other than a little hiccup where Yubi is able to play that high ground with that Mei and just freeze everyone in the backline. The Ashe does its job. Dynamite connects onto those players behind and around the Ram shield. You don't have to worry about some of those off angles with a Sojourn running through because you don't want to be away from your team. You're going to immediately eat all of the damage coming through from the Ashe poke. There's no Kiriko on the other side, so you're constantly applying that damage, constantly applying the pressure around the corners, so they're not able to hold as close to the point as they would like, and you get a lot of ticks very, very quickly. But the second that we see the Widowmaker swap, that's when it all falls apart.
Oh my god, great work from Twisted Minds so far. Up 2 in the series, but we'll have to see how it concludes after a short break. We'll see you guys in just a bit. We'll be right back.
Tracer has quickly become one of the most popular heroes in high-level Overwatch 2. It takes insane mechanical skill, cerebral game sense, and ice in your veins to make impact plays with her, but these players make it look easy.
Maimon and Vestola just playing off of each other perfectly.
Maimon, by the way, found one who built that Transcendent. And a Pulse Bomb connects onto both Fuki and Turkey. Maimon on this map, on Havana, truly has been next level.
And just as their eyes glance away, a pulse bomb connects to the back of their head. Kanail and Cookie hit the dirt. Rocket trying. Rocket could be a hero in moments like these. Rocket saved the day again. Rocket's gonna chase him out too. Oh, and he Tracer gaps him. Yeah, Rocket's that guy right now.
Welcome back, everybody. If you want to join the dive party, Overwatch 2 Operation Dive Party signups are open. Make sure to sign up if you want to have a chance to win $5,000 cash prize pool per region. You know, obviously, super exciting. A lot of people are looking forward to this because you won't have to compete against Overwatch Contenders talent or Overwatch League talent. So if you're an upcoming player that is not a Contenders or Overwatch League player, feel free to sign up for this with your team. You have a good chance to win this prize pool. Obviously, go to overwatchleague.com/PatThePro for more information and also for signups. Moxie, have you had any people reach out to you to sign up for this tournament for Dive Party, or are you?
I feel like we should. I feel like all of the casters.
That's what you're saying. That's what you're saying, but I gotta be honest, man. Yeah, I
Even
know.
if you're not allowed to play, you could maybe coach or be on mascot.
Dude, I have. Oh my god, my brain. Like honestly, I think I'm just boomed after watching like just so many of these talented flex supports play. I just play the game, and it's just like I'll let the state of the young talent. You know, I'm old, washed up now, ripe old age of 24 years old. That's washed up in esports, as you know, Moxie. I think we're
don't make me think about it. My birthday is this month. I don't want to think about the fact that I'm moving to boomer status, even though I still get ID checked when I'm buying like paracetamol. It's like
you still get
16.
ID checked. What the heck? I don't get ID checked. I don't get it, man. I actually look like I'm 90 years old at this point. But anyway, Oblivione are going to make some substitutes, guys, leading into the next matchup. They are putting in Bia into this match. We actually had a little bit of debate. Is it Bia or it's Bia? So I think a lot of people say Bia. He's going to be back into the game. A lot of Brigitte, like you said. And he had a pretty good game last series, so might as well try with him, right?
Yeah, especially because we're not seeing any subs come through from the other side, right? It's still going to be Quartz and Yubi being that tag team DPS. If we were seeing Lambda come through, guarantee you Bia doesn't come out of that sub because they don't want to run Brigitte into something like an Echo or a Pharah, because, I mean, Brigitte, very close-up range, very much melee. Echo and Pharah, very much poke, very much using that projectile distance, especially as we head on to Junkertown. You want to keep an eye on those flanks. You want to make sure that Quartz and Yubi aren't up to no good in your backline. But we did just see Quartz pop off in the Widow, and Widow is a traditional pick on Junkertown. So I don't know whether we're going to see that force-up of Widow versus Widow. If I am in EXO shoes, I'm debating about whether or not you want to start off on that Widow and chance it, or whether or not you want to go for that Sombra Tracer that's so meta.
Well, you know what I'm kind of surprised is that they wouldn't take us to like Shambhala Monastery, for example, right? Like we saw what we saw yesterday, another escort map.
Same problem though.
Yeah, exactly.
Lines of sights, a lot of focus on high ground, some really harsh corners.
You don't think it's like the lesser of two evils, though? It's like, you know, you got to take your chance, I guess, versus Quartz, but Junkertown sightlines are, you know, some of the worst in the game to deal with Widow players. I guess that's just on first point, right? You know, you can swap off.
Yeah, I mean, especially because we've now seen B just very much devolve into A.5 and C.5 as well. B a lot of the time really doesn't feel like it exists with just how much momentum you're able to pick up from that point A checkpoint. You can move up, you can occupy the high ground. The defenders don't really get any ground to be able to hold as that payload continues to move forward, and they have to give up and give up and give up more and more room and be pushed all the way back into C very quickly. So even if you don't full push, you still are able to get a lot more ground than if you go into Shambhala and you get stopped at any point on B.
You know, we'll see if it works out for Oblivione on their side. They're going to have Maymone potentially even lock that Sombra first of all, and maybe a bit of a change-up Vistola as well in the Sigma. We haven't seen this change-up happen just yet for this team.
Oh, here it is. Quartz Widow makeup. Whether or not it's going to stay remains to be seen. He's not fully out of spawn. He's not committed. He's waiting to see whether or not Extra are fielding a Widow to stop him. Vistola's Sigma Shield should be able to keep some of those shots in check, but ooh, that was close.
Yeah, it's always going to be that tense, but you know, with double shield, it's going to be hard for Quartz to find a lot of direct value unless somebody peeks their head out like Cookie is at the moment. We have a bit of a duel going for the SMG just to scare him off at the moment. Now goes for the grapple shot. Doesn't hit it. Cookie. Did he just do the mid-air Hanzo shot onto Quartz directly? Insane from him, but now Mamone comes through, try to pressure out Quartz, but the change up with Kelix going over to that Kariko enables Quartz to now find Cookie on that left side flank. He came through with the peel, and now Mamone's trying to do that pressure, but just ridiculous help from the side of Twisted Minds to make sure he never goes down. Cookie opts to switch as well over to Widowmaker. Canale gets staggered out as well, and now they're going to put 3 on that payload. They won't have Canale for a retest.
Yeah, remember when I said that Sojin for Sojin forces that mirror and is very much akin to the Widow forcing the mirror? Now we're seeing that mirror being forced. Quartz does get hacked down by Mamo and doesn't actually go down, however, as UV on that trace just continues to apply this pressure onto EXO to make sure that they can't contest as that payload moves through from Chuck, but Cookie finds his counterpart. Will be able to keep EXO in the driving seat for now as a result.
Ooh, nice hack on the UV, but the damage output is not there to finally take him down. Gets that recall off. Now a pulse bomb. What? Looked like it connected, but it didn't. Anyways, Immortality Field still utilized from Kanale down below, and Cookie hits those shots. 2 in a row now for him. Quartz also swaps to the Hanzo, which is, I guess, technically better of a hero in their second phase. And a boost from KSA. They want to still fight this, even though they're down in members. Running towards the high ground, just pummeling with the Nano. Also commits the Annihilation and eventually takes down Kanale. The Ramatra is doing so much versus the Sigma, though. Bastola does trade it back. Has something to say. Eventually the Annihilation runs out, but it's Quartz to find Cookie during this fight. So Bastola has to back up, still take a lot of this pummel damage. Free to do whatever he wants, but gets tossed up in the air from the Sigma, but eventually gets found by Quartz. And that ultimate, unfortunately, going to get no value as the cart continues through this second phase.
Yeah, Sigma versus Ramatra is a very uneven matchup, as now we're actually going to see. Even though it counts as a projectile with the pummel, doesn't get stopped by the Sigma shift. You still take the damage. So Vessel is forced off of the Sigma now and onto the Ram mirrors. Mayman waits in position to be able to touch and use the EMP.
Now there's that rally on the cart, though, so they do have that sustain from Baya in this fight. 1.75 meters left. It's just him. Now, incoming the Ramatra change for Bastola, also with that Ant Matrix support ultimates used. Also, a Kitsune Rush from Telex was in that fight, but they walled them off, expertly placed by Yubi, and actually connect onto that payload, bringing us to that second checkpoint. And now into third. The fight is still going on, however, so potentially some staggered kills now onto Oblivione. Bastola does trade it back, but surely he'll get staggered at the end of it as well.
Oh, this lag is going to be brutal. They catch Kanale and Vestola. Your tank and your main heal both going to be taken out of the mix blade. You're now going to be off of that Brigida onto that Zen, trying to use these discords as well as the damage that Zen's able to output in a very short amount of time to break through KSA's shield, but he's got Annihilation, and as a result, EXO aren't really going to be able to get close enough these main walls to punish.
Poking out the high ground, still getting a lot of cart time. I mean, there just really hasn't been that many fights for Oblivione. They swap Biot to Zenyatta, but it doesn't matter because Quartz is the one to find the opening pick on W Maimon for the top on the high ground. Meanwhile, Railgun shot onto Quartz, gets him so low, but the Immortality Field saves him at 1 HP. Unfortunately, Bastola also missed a few of the pummel shots, so he could not kill the 3 HP target, which is Quartz. And now Quartz has decided to walk back up to the high ground. Now has to deal with Cookie, but drops down below with the Dragon Strike. Cart almost at the checkpoint, by the way. Still was not contested. Blizzard to zone. Nobody else can touch. And oh my god, what a blazing fast time for Twisted Minds.
Twisted Minds, like I said, they have the Annihilation, they have the Blizzard, and as a result, no one from EXO can actually engage in the close quarters fight. No one can contest the payload as it just rolls through at an absolute breakneck speed of Junkertown. We said that we were a little bit concerned when we saw EXO take us to this specific map because of the fact that Quartz was popping up on the last one, and it definitely feels like the Widowmaker paved the way for that speedy starting day.
I was running the Sigma, I guess, in the first 1.5 points, really. It's just not a lot of pressure onto KSA. Not a lot of cart pressure in general on that map. It felt like...
It's more to stop the shots, right? The Sigma was meta on Junkertown for the specific reason of being able to use that shield, but also move that shield. You would be able to play against a dive. If a dive was attempted, you would be able to use the accretion to be able to connect onto them. Obviously, it doesn't go through defense matrix. Or it does go through defense matrix, so D.Va wasn't really able to counter it. But like you said, in comparison to that Ramatra, it doesn't have any ground that it's able to hold, and we just saw EXO having to just cave on all of those engagements until the swap comes through into B. But by then, the tempo, the ultimate economy, it's already in Twisted Mind's favor.
Yeah, it's fantastic work from the side of Twisted Minds. 3 minutes and 55 seconds is ridiculous. And now, going to be playing on that offense is Oblivione. We'll see if they can capture rounds. That may give them a chance here. Obviously, Quartz still on the Widow. Cookie trying to match it with the Hanzo.
Yeah, finds the shot too, not onto his squishy, which is why no early death from EXO. As Twisted Mind's still going to be having that Widow, and Cookie just straight away off of the Hanzo onto the Widow. Was only playing the Hanzo to see whether or not Twisted Minds were going to go for that early spawn hold. Seeing now, with 15 seconds passing, they're able to hit tab. The Quartz is on the Widow, has to match up.
Yeah, waiting for that mid-air shot, and fortunately cannot connect, but neither does Cookie. Meanwhile, the Venom Mine plays perfectly. Oh my god, a TP on Canale. Barely avoids Quartz's shot, knowing that he's both being chased by this Kariko and Tracer, means that he has to play ultra safe. Meanwhile, in the front line, KSA also dealing with a Ramatro, so two fights kind of happening. We got Slay and Quartz dealing with that Tracer and Kariko. Quartz going incredibly low, gets those heals, but it's Kelix to find Cookie actually with a snipe shot. And then Yubi eventually will take down Biak. Canale does trade back Slay, but it's already far too late. Quartz is getting rid of Canale. Mamon eventually tracks down one, also onto Yubi, but was still KSA alive. Mamon is now the last one alive in this team fight. Looks for that Kariko, but it's going to back out with his life. His Twisted Minds regroup.
But Quartz actually grapples above Kelix and Yubi to try and find that shot onto her Cookie. And stays alive longer than Cookie actually does, despite two of those squishy players trying to go after that Widow and keep him in check, as we see the swap onto the Brigida. EXO trying to field Bia onto that, so you have another shield to try and stand in the path of Quartz as Yubi infiltrates the backline, lands the Pulse Bomb. Cookie, unfortunately, with 175 health and a 12-second grapple, a very valuable target for that Trace to be able to push onto.
2 minutes left now. Yubi's still pressuring, and as you can see, we have that Mamon in Canale kind of flank still persisting. Bastola, knowing they don't have a lot of those heals, it's just Bia healing him. KSA should be free on this front line as long as he's getting the pocket, but it's Cookie to open things onto Quartz, who had to rotate away from that pressure of the Kariko and Tracer. Canale also finds Slade. KSA does trade back Bastola, though. KSA gets Nana boosted in the back line as well as Yubi finds Bia, but Yubi, oh my god, removed from Cookie. Body shot into melee. Fantastic work for him. KSA trying to trade things back, but the Annihilation isn't going to work versus a lot of these more mobile characters. Pops the Annihilation just to stall. Knows it's going to eventually run out, though, because he has no target to really connect to. And now he's chase bound up down by Mamon. Great work from Mamon to zone that Ramatro. They're trying to come through for the stall, but it's too late. KSA is out of the fight. Bia and the rest of the team pushing forward, and Cookie is starting to level up at the moment. Click takes out Slay, and they get that first checkpoint.
Yeah, a lot of stall coming through from Twisted Minds, but that is an Annihilation now used, and they don't really have anything to stop Bastolas. Right? Well, now Yubi's actually going to go on to that maze to try and use the wall to block it off. So it's not able to find the value, given that KSA is not going to be able to mirror it. As Quartz with the Infrasight can also try and use that to keep this Ramatro in check. It's just waiting around that corner to see when Twisted Minds are going to challenge. Quartz pushed so far back, expecting Canale and Mamon to come for his head.
Looking for the shot on the Tracer with those inference sights, like you said. Not able to find the kill just yet. Cookie looking to match him. Annihilation, aggression with that continued rush, and now that rally as well from Bia. So 3 committed. Cookie clicker. Kelix goes down to him. Also, Bia and Mamon connect on a Quartz and Yubi as well. A lot of ults committed, though, for this fight for Oblivione. They do come out on top, though.
Yeah, the thing is, because Twisted Minds had to swap their composition up, they also reset a major part of their ultimate economy. So EXO taking that reins of the fight, using all of those ultimates, means that Twisted Minds aren't able to cycle into that amp, nor the Blizzard to have in this next fight.
Twisted Minds come through the bottom right. They wall themselves to make sure that they can get out of the choke without any pressure. Pulse Bomb connects onto the shield, and also an Immortality Field used to potentially counter that value. Meanwhile, Ant Matrix used. Oblivione, no ultimates to work with here besides that Pulse Bomb that was used earlier. Now knowing the Twisted Minds have the advantage with that Ant Matrix, they walk forward and take down Canale, or Bastola, now stuck in the corner as well. Goes down eventually, even with the Suzy Dragon Strike from Cookie. Desperation. But unfortunately for them, his team is removed. It's just Canale and Mamon alive. Canale will fall as well. Mamon has to recall. Surely going to try to back out. Now 2 minutes in the second phase.
I thought that was going to be a swap for Cookie, given that Dragon Strike was incredibly late. But he is going to stick on the Hanzo at the moment to go toe-to-toe with Quartz. And granted, you don't need to save it to be able to zone out the Ant Matrix, but now you're not going to have it to be able to zone out Yubi's Blizzard.
Oh my god, besides the Blizzard, Yubi just hits the shots as well onto Mamon. I guess, oh my god, nice 8-3 on the Quartz. But the thing is with Hanzo is that Dragon Strike is seen as like one of the worst ultimates in the game. So it really just is that one-shot potential that Cookie still has. They'd have to wait for Mamon to come back from spawn now, though. 1 minute and 30 seconds left in the Streets phase, Moxie.
Well, Quartz has a Dragon Strike of his own. may not be one of the greatest as seen by players, but it can still be incredibly useful, especially if all of those players are stuck inside a blizzard. Be able to use, or even you save it for overtime and push it onto the payload so they take so much damage when they have to touch.
Yeah, you're right. UB pressuring out this Tracer. Oh my god, what a pull spawn, but it doesn't matter because he still has that cooldown of Ice Block. Get out, Steel, buddy. WMaimon goes back to the spawn doors. Now KSA with the Annihilation eventually runs out as well. Vastola building onto his, but now they're staggered. If he dies late here, that could be very bad. Actually falls here as well. No that piece, by the way, for the Immortality field. Now the rest beyond just hides into the corner. Eventually will fall. More time off the clock. 43 seconds left in the second phase.
EXO have one more good push, and Twisted Minds are just not allowing them to regroup cleanly. Kelleg's on that Lucio, invading on those members of EXO that were still retreating after having lost some of those players. No nano boost available for Biat to be able to give the damage reduction to Vastola. Twisted Minds don't have Annihilation of their own, but Yubi's Blizzard and that Dragon Strike in overtime is going to be so hard for EXO to overcome.
Yeah, Nails well. Has that continued rush to recontest with, so maybe they can get something done if it's incredibly fast. But like you said, they have to deal with so many defensive ultimates. Know where they are. Drop the Dragon Strike. There's that Blizzard, and oh my god, they're just dead to all that damage. 4 seconds left. They went inside when it was most detrimental to them in their composition, and now WMaimon falls. Bial does as well. Nobody else can touch. Twisted Minds are now up 3 in the series. One more to go. They're on map point.
Yeah, unfortunately for EXO, it's just a state of circumstance that they have to take that rotation. They have so little time. They know that they're up against a Mei and a Hanzo, who can potentially both find primary picks in those rotations if you go straight through main. And as a result, cut tight for as long as possible, taking that longer rotation into the smaller rooms, unfortunately puts them prime position to be stuck in the Blizzard and Dragon Strike combination.
I mean, just expert team play from Twisted Minds. And now, you know, obviously on the cusp of winning it all, they look to be in a great position. Oblivione have to regroup mentally, right? Junkertown was always going to be a hard map, I feel like, Moxie. You know, coming into this, we debated that Junkertown, you know, any of the escorts are going to be difficult for Oblivione just because you have to deal with Quartz, who has really been putting on a show so far in Contenders.
Yeah, and I mean, again, it was that sort of curveball factor of not really thinking or being able to plan for what Quartz would come out with. The fact that when they were defending, first of all, and Quartz is on that Widowmaker immediately, the same for when they're attacking, that he comes out on that Widowmaker at first, means that he just needs to find one well-timed shot onto Cookie and continues to actually keep that Hanzo's attention. So you're not even able to use the Hanzo where the Widowmaker falls, which is in the damage for the shield. Right? If you're running a Ramatra versus a Sigma, Widowmaker has to play around the Sigma. That's why the 12-second grapple cooldown is so punishing for this composition. But the Hanzo just gets to use that Storm Arrow to be able to break the Ram Shield near instantly. But he doesn't get to do that. Cookie is always having to try and figure out where Quartz is playing from because he can't allow the Widowmaker to go unchecked.
Yeah, it's been so hard for Vastola to try to find a counter, you know, because it seems like Twisted Minds, like you said, just constantly making those swaps that the Hanzo are playing whatever they need to. And, you know, for this next map, they obviously have to go to the drawing board to figure out what they want to play, Moxie. It feels like at the moment, though, Oblivione need a map where they can maybe even take that mirror where it was kind of close. But it feels like, you know, Oblivione, they said they talked things over. They need to go over maybe mechanical issues, but it feels like even today in the grand finals, Twisted Minds are looking more on fire than they ever have.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I would love to see EXO curve away from the mirror. We've talked to Twisted Minds. They have said and expressed confidence in their Ramatra. They've said it's the best in the region. We're seeing evidence that it really is. These walls coming through from Yubi every single time have been finding insane amounts of punishment onto the members of EXO. I would love to just see EXO decide, okay, Vastola can play an amazing Overwatch League level diva. We've got Psycho on bench at the moment who can come through and play the Echo, force Twisted Minds away from this Ramatra, put Labda in, and see whether or not they can actually come out on top with that matchup, as opposed to just continuing to go blow for blow with this Ramatra matchup because it's just not working.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. I think it would be a decent pick, but you know, we did talk. I guess we did talk last game to WMaimon, who did tell us, you know, that the Sombra composition does require a lot more team coordination, and you know, he mentioned scrim time and stuff, that you need to practice that composition in particular because you need to be super coordinated. So that could definitely be a factor into them deciding just to keep playing the mirror. it would be a decent decision, I think, to mix things up. But I think me and you both would not be surprised if they just keep trying to play the mirror.
Yeah, I think they are probably just going to keep playing the mirror. And then again, it just comes down to how dangerous Twisted Minds are on all of these compositions. Like, their Junkertown is absolutely standout. Quartz can play both the hit scan, but he can also get really up close and personal and play things that are incredibly strong against with things like the Sombra, right? And you don't have to sub a player out. And here's the most worrying thing. We're headed to Push, a map which is all about controlling tempo and high grounds, especially this map in particular. It's not Colosseo, it's not New Queen Street, it's going to be Esperanza, and that means high ground control. Quartz can play the Cassidy here. He can, if he chooses, play that Sombra. He can go for something like the Cassidy. He can play something like a Widowmaker. And EXO have no way of knowing what it's going to be that they're going up against until they lock their heroes in and find themselves in that first fight. And by then, it's too late. They're not going to be able to change.
Yeah, it's going to be scary. I mean, obviously against Quartz, but if anybody could do it, it is Cookie, right? If anybody is Cookie on Oblivione's side, can play an expert Sojourn. And for the side of Oblivione, they just need to actually make this reverse sweep right here and right now. Obviously, they've been champions before. Cookie in particular has been a standout player. Oblivione as a overall organization has been amazing. So it's definitely possible for them to actually come back, make this reverse sweep. It's Twisted Minds really are, kind of seemingly a step ahead of everybody, but we do have to. We can't count out Oblivione just yet, right? We can't count out their mechanical prowess that they have as an overall unit. And also, Moxie, what's going on with their lineup?
We've got a sub to come through. Doge is actually going to be coming in instead of Vestola to play that tank. And you want to talk about pedigree and Overwatch Contenders. You mentioned a little bit earlier in the series, Dustin, British Hurricane. It's been so long since I got to see Doge in Contenders. I don't know whether or not they're going to field together something like San Francisco Shock's new Orisa composition, but we might get to see Doge play either the Orisa or the Winston if EXO decide that they're going to push dive.
They're doing a lot of swaps at the moment. They're still mixing things up, it looks like, at the current moment with Oblivione. They're really just like, okay, we're just going to try something out here. See if it works out against Twisted Minds, because, we do hear from a lot of teams, we hear from a lot of teams talking about, like, okay, sorry, from the fans, I guess. People are like, oh, why would you play the meta, quote unquote, when you're not as good? Well, today we're seeing a little bit of a mix-up as well. Twisted Minds putting in Lambda and to match the other team that is trying to mix it up versus Twisted Minds who are playing their Mantra composition. So here we go. We actually do have, that just try everything out and see what sticks. Wonder what we're going to see in this matchup with Lebda coming back out of the lineup, and obviously probably more than likely going to see Calyx on that Mercy pocket for him.
It's not just that, though. We're also getting to see from the sides of EXO that Psycho is going to be coming into the mix as well. So this is our request granted, Dustin. EXO are going to be pushing away from that mirror matchup, and we're more than likely going to be seeing the dive compositions come through from them with that Echo to try to go toe-to-toe with Lambda. We have seen in the past Lambda go up against Yazan, and Yazan actually do more damage on that Pharah in comparison to the Echo, so whether or not EXO are going to be able to deal with this is now going to be their biggest test, and potentially their last one as well. It is currently series match point to Twisted Minds if they're able to take this map.
Yep, and Psycho also did come back into this lineup too, so Oblivione looking to play maybe that Sombra dive as well, with Doge potentially coming in for maybe a little bit of a Winston gameplay, which obviously we've seen Vistola play the Diva with it, but maybe the Winston versus that, or I mean, Doge could really play a variety of different things. I think he's a very versatile player. Vistola really has that Ramatra and Diva locked down. We've seen him play Diva at points as well. Doge can play a lot of those different tanks, but obviously coming in, they think maybe something to do with Doge's hero pool could counter KSA on the Ramatra, because as we talked about with W. Maimon, he even mentioned it. You mentioned it too in the interview. KSA is like probably the best Ramatra player in EMEA and one of the best in the world.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, like you said, if we do see that dive, I would honestly be okay with them going for the shock style to counter Ramatra and run Orisa. Orisa works surprisingly well into this one specific tank, and I'm going to explain now why, because I know many people are like, why would you ever run Orisa? But first of all, we have to address the fact that Twisted Minds are actually going to be backtracking. Labda is not going to be coming in. They are going to be sticking with Quartz and UV, and no swaps are coming through on the side of EXO. So Quartz is going to be there for damage control to potentially go into the Cassidy if they do see an Echo come through from EXO's side. But circling back towards that potential Orisa, like Roadhog, when that Ramatra is in that Nemesis, he is susceptible to the Javelin. He can be pushed back when it connects, and you can use things like the Fortify to be able to try and backtrack your way out of Annihilation incredibly quickly. Likewise, the Javelin spin can eat up a lot of the heals that come through from that Ramatra of the Baptiste, trying to keep him up and alive. Your primary can be used to just chunking down that Ramatra shield for as much as possible, and I would 100% be okay with not only the Orisa, but also Kanel going on to something like the Moira, which is the composition that Shock has shown. On places like Control and Push, it can work out against this particular composition, but it doesn't look like we're going to see the Shock. We're going to be seeing the traditional dive come through from EXO after all.
Yeah, it is something they could run for sure. I think that, you know, I'm sure they've at least experimented with it. A lot of these teams play a ton of different compositions in practice and in scrims. And in this situation, Moxie rolling out with that Tracer Sombra from previous, and as well as Doge on that Winston. Meanwhile, Twisted Minds, of course, on the Reaper, and Slay on that Moira.
Yeah, heavy dive counters. Quartz going to be there with the Reaper to try and exchange shots with Doge when he jumps in, pummeling through that shield. Slay on the Moira with the Fade should be able to negate a lot of the damage input.
Very aggressive push again from Twisted Minds early on to Doge, who jumped towards that high ground. They're trying to control that space above that bridge, above the archway. Maywall's used as well. The Robot under the control as well early on as KSA takes control of it, looking for the dive target as Oblivione, but while they have to think about who to dive, they're dealing the pressure of Quartz in the front line, who does get anti-grenaded, but still has that fade up. Doge gets poked down incredibly low. Also walled. Oh my god. Almost goes entirely down. Also recall used by Psycho into the back line. Has to try to preserve his own life while Doge gets healed up, building towards Kanale's nano boost. Slay actually building up ultimates first, about 70 towards that Coalescence. Now towards 80, Kanale trying to desperately heal his team up to build the nano first for the engage, but during the fight, the Robot is pushing forward. Now is under that archway, about to get through that choke point. Memo going for the hack, trying to now recall out of there. Slay goes forward, knowing he has the Coalescence, goes aggressive, but a pulse bomb from Psycho after he fades forward. What a connection from him. KSA, though, does trade back Kanale and EMP there from W Memo as well to progress his team towards a victory, but Doge goes incredibly low. They try to rotate back towards that Robot. He doesn't have a lot of healing. Quartz knows that, teleports back towards them to get those heals from his Lucio and also force out Doge, but he's doing a great job just backing up. Psycho also has found Quartz, so even though Twisted Minds have claim of that Robot again, they have lost Quartz for this next one.
And Twisted Minds I get to continue this fight in this space where that May is going to find a lot of value, but UV actually coming back in on the Tracer. Quartz there. Still on the Reaper with that Death Blossom, as we're going to see Nano Boost from EXO, then on to Doge so that he can dive into that backline. The damage reduction as well, just so much damage amplified on that Cleave, but he's shredded before he's able to pull that last little percentage for Primal. And suddenly EXO are lacking a tank and they have to abandon ship.
It was almost a comedy, honestly. Dead died so fast, even through that reduction, like you said. Was trying to build the Primal Rage, but really had nowhere to go. Composition of Twisted Minds a bit too fast pace. With the Tracer, with the Reaper, with the Moira, with the Lucio. Pretty easy to avoid a lot of these dives from Doge, but now they'll come back. They do have some ultimates to work with, but the Annihilation is being built from KSA. Psycho with the Pulse Bomb over to the left side. Sneaking above the high ground. Notices the Reaper TP. Just going to poke him out, though, as he falls back. KSA's hacked on the low ground. Kelworth goes incredibly low, but it's Kellex to find WMA1 on the off angle. Psycho with the Pulse Bomb. Notices the fade just happened, so he goes in with that Pulse Bomb. Doesn't connect. Also counter Pulse Bomb from UV onto Kanale with the Annihilation to connect onto Psycho. And that's another 2K for Twisted Minds as they claim the checkpoint. Push forward.
Good zoning. Death Blossom as well coming through from Quartz to make sure no one can bite back into that Annihilation, nor stop Twisted Minds from picking up those forward spawns. And as a result, even though they do lose Quartz, they'll be getting him back into the fight relatively quickly. As EXO decide to rubber band back in, knowing that the Reaper, that big counter to this Winston, is off the table.
Doge dives in, but they've lost Maimon again. Oh no, Canale trades back to UB though, so that's a 1-for-1 trade. KSA also into the corner, but can just kind of bunker up, right? This new character, Ramatra, is so darn tanky. Primal Rage as well from Doge on the inside. Does not able to find the kill because it's a Coalescence from Slay during that fight. Throwing out the damage orb, and Quartz finds Canale, even though he had the nano boost. Cannot use it in this fight now. W Maimon also died earlier on, so no EMP here. Although Twisted Minds are at a ult disadvantage, they still will press forward on the Doge, send him back towards the spawn doors. Now 90 meters. Oh my god, found the translocator. Stagger kill on the Maimon again.
Oh, you needed the EMP. Calyx is sitting on that sandbar. He's going to be able to have it when the Sombra ultimate now comes into play, and he can just keep himself safe and away from that Sombra's attentions until the ultimate comes through and be the hero of the hour that Twisted Minds needs to be able to sustain through. He's been spotted out, however, by Doge and has to peel back to the rest of the team. Use the sandbar before EMP!
Used it early, but only connected onto the Quartz in that front line. The nano boost from Doge was there, so it kind of forced them. UB found Psycho as well, who had Pulse Bomb on that off angle. Maybe this is why in the interview, you know, we said we interviewed him at W Maimon. He said that maybe don't want to run these Sombra competitions because it requires a ton of coordination. The rest of W Maimon's team falls around them as the EMP. Psycho desperately trying to reel things back, has found Quartz, also Calyx out of the fight, so Oblivione have those close spawns. It could be winnable, but KSA with the block has so much damage reduction. Hacked and integrated. That's exactly what you like to see, but he's still alive. Will back out of there, barely alive as well. Pulse bomb from UB to try to connect onto Doge, but finally they take down KSA, who has been a terror on Oblivione. That is a very, very crucial pick for them to come back now as they kind of rampage back into Twisted Minds. Canale has found Slay as well, and slowly but surely stuck in the spawn doors no longer. Oblivione control the robot again.
Twisted Minds, however, have a window where Maimon's not going to have that EMP up, and Slay can use that fade to dodge out of that Pulse Bomb attachment that we've seen Psycho just continue to hound towards this Moira. Annihilation, Death Blossom, that's a lot of damage, a lot of zoning potential to keep EXO off of that high ground perch.
Underneath, Doge goes from the Archwing. Pulse Bomb available from Psycho. Looking for that Ramatra. So many ultimates, like you said, on the side of Twisted Mind. Psycho has to blink around now. Recall. Throws the Pulse Bomb out. Does not connect onto KSA. Now will fall back to his team. W Maimon has the MP. Ready to go. Notices the rest of his team is dying to Annihilation. And the rest of Twisted Minds, 3 members. W Maimon now has to hold onto the EMP as they now have to deal with Doge, who's Primal Raging, not getting any more value.
Yeah, Primal Rage just try and stall so that EXO can regroup back. Crispy onto the Mercy. Psycho now flexing onto the Echo so that the pocket is there. Trying to punish the fact that Twisted Minds aren't running any traditional hit scan at the moment. All they have the opportunity until they're sent packing as we're in final fight territory.
UB finds Crispy as well, so no pocket there for that Echo. Desperation Hours for Oblivione. W Maimon now coming back with the EMP to cancel the Death Blossom, but actually doesn't connect onto Quartz. So Quartz is able to get the Death Blossom out and fade back in, but Doge now on the Ramachal, able to find UB. KSA also falls. These spawns too close to that payload, which was just about to reach that checkpoint. Now Oblivione control the robot again.
Are we going to see the cast swap from Quartz? They're not running that Winston anymore. No, it's going to be the Sombra. So no hit scan to actually try and keep Psycho in check. Crispy off of the Mercy, so not damage boosting, but onto the Lucy to allow for more initiation on Doja's side to be able to match speed with KSA as Psycho just putting a little bit more pressure onto that front line, trying to force those cooldowns early.
Back against the wall to Oblivione. Have what it takes to control this robot all the way through 130 plus meters to go. Sombra pinged out. Quartz translocates back towards his team. Psycho was hacked in the air as well. Beat drop engaged from Calyx. If Oblivione can deal with this, they might be in a decent spot, but the hack out of the air of Psycho, so he can't help. Canale follows to Quartz eventually. Slay also onto Canale, and there's still 2 minutes and 30 seconds left. Twisted Minds win yet again. Another team fight.
Twisted Minds punishing that lack of heal for the Ramatra. It's not the Diva. You're not going to be able to have your tank turn heal and help your backline. As a result, it's Psycho who has to give up the aggressive push and peel back for his team, and they lose both of these players as Quartz so close to that EMP. Amon going to be a little bit closer. Has to worry about not being spotted out as Quartz goes to the spawn camp.
Hack comes through onto Canale, making sure he can't get up. Oh my god! Snipe from UB from across the map. But Crispy does find Quartz EMP as well in the Twisted Mind after UB actually is going to toss the Blizzard into the Annihilation from Oblivione. They sustained so far. KSA goes so low. Eventually Doge will find him and they control the robot again. But, you know, they win this team fight But at what cost? They have so many more meters to come back now with a minute 30 seconds left.
But they win the team fight even though they're lacking Camille and that damage reduction with the nano boost. Doja's Annihilation is absolutely clutch, as Twisted Minds used Coalescence and Blizzard to try to finally push that bot back, as EXO have the ultimate to be able to win this night fight. They just can't afford to be caught by EMP early.
With that EMP ready to go. Nano boost is well committed on a Doge, trying to avoid those ultimates early. Copy comes through on for Psycho to copy. The Ramatra has a lot of the armor as well. Doge takes down Kellex early on before he can able to beat drop. The EMP was used by Quartz in that fight, so Oblivione have won this team fight. Also have control of that robot, which is getting pressure forward. Now Slade, though, does trade back Canale. However, at this point, you know, Oblivione has got to, or Twisted Minds have to regroup.
Yeah, Psycho's duplication actually forces KSA away from his team, and he solo annihilates that Echo without being there in the front line for his team to be able to fall behind when Mamo and Doge, Canale, and Crispy all apply the pressure onto the front. And EXO, granted they've still got a lot of distance to try and cover, have been able to turn this map around.
Mimo pressuring out for that EMP will translocate back, is spotted out by Quartz on the Tracer, so that duel's happening in the left side. Twisted Minds now regroup back into this fight. No ultimates committed yet either. Besides Quartz with that pulse bomb earlier on. It gets poked incredibly low, but will translocate out. Meanwhile, Doge over to the top of the archway, just looking for the perfect fight to take place. Both support ultimates available for Twisted Minds. EXO have none. They do have the EMP, though, and connect onto Yubi to find him before Slay and Kellex can counteract it with the support ultimates. Though Quartz does trade it back. Overtime now ticks down. Twisted Minds trying to end it here and now. Annihilation from Doze to attempt to try to clutch it out. It is KSA to fall to it, but he's so low. No more heals here. Quartz eventually will find Doge to translocate away from this fight. WMAMO now comes back, but the suck from Slaves there. And Twisted Minds with the 4-0 victory over Oblivione are your EMEA champs.
They've finally been able to add a Contenders title to their crowns. Look incredibly dominant in the OWL Pro-Am qualifying tournament, and look incredibly dominant moving from regular into playoffs. Tragedy for EXO. Unfortunately, they just picked up too much distance early on with that tempo, and the aggro swap, I just wish we'd seen it a little bit sooner, because that was where we saw Twisted Minds struggle to try and adapt around.
You're right. The Echo swap, definitely something they had to do there a little bit earlier. But, you know, I think to change topic a little bit, I mean, for Oblivione, obviously, to make that second place against a team like Twisted Minds, I mean, that's great for them. Overall, obviously, to go down 0-4 and lose to Twisted Minds is not phenomenal. But, you know, against Twisted Minds, what a good team they've been so far. But, you know, a lot of fans, a lot of people will be like, okay, why don't you not play meta? Why don't you mix things up against these teams? That's why, right? I think that Oblivione looked better playing that Sojourn composition than they did attempting the sub and Doge, attempting to try all these plays. I know they had to try and do something, but realistically, you know, that's why you play the meta, you play what is currently the best in Overwatch, and you try to have to ride with that throughout the whole tournament. Unfortunately for them, it doesn't succeed this time around, but maybe when the meta changes, when some patches come through, Oblivione can try to regroup together as a unit, and they have the mechanical prowess to succeed. But against Twisted Minds in the current Ramatra meta with KSA as well, seems pretty difficult to do.
Yeah, I mean, Twisted Minds just look absolutely unstoppable at the moment. Like you said, this meta favors them so much because the RAM is super strong at the moment. We're not playing on live patch at the moment, so you can't say grab a Junk Queen. Cassidy just took a huge nerf as well to his health pool, so one of those traditional targets for that Pharah or Echo to be kept in check for is now off of the table and incredibly vulnerable. This is the prime time for Twisted Minds to take the reins and be the strongest team in EMEA.
Nice job from them. 4-0. We'll have to speak to one of the members from Twisted Minds after a short break. When we come back, we'll have a champions interview for you guys, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. 4-0 victory for Twisted Minds in the grand finals. We have Slay with us today from Twisted Minds. Obviously one of our favorite flex support players to have on the broadcast. Congratulations on your win, my man. And in 4-0 fashion, that's got to feel good.
Yeah, thank you. It was very fast.
So, first of all, we saw a lot of mirror matchup. In fact, you guys didn't ever field Lambda in that matchup until it was just Quartz and Yubi. Were you expecting that EXO would play into the mirror as much as they did?
Well, we did, because yesterday, right, it was kind of a dogfight, and some maps were like a bit closer than it should have been, but that's not because of them, it's more because of us, you know, we were too stressed and stuff, so we made a lot of mistakes, but as you can see today, we kind of made up for all of that, and we played really well in the ramp comp. So yeah, we did expect it, right? Because they thought, quote unquote, they were better at it. But come on, man, come on now.
Come on, no, indeed. Slay, you played on multiple championship teams so far, obviously for previously for Oblivione, and now Twisted Minds. I mean, I feel like your journey in particular has been so interesting because obviously it feels like you're just an incredibly talented flex support that has just always been on the most winning team. I guess I want to get your overall thoughts so far on your current position in Contenders. Do you feel like can we give you an ego? Would you say you're the best flex support in EMEA region?
Well, you kind of have to have an ego, right? So of course I'm saying I'm the best. That's just how it is. If I keep winning, then I have to be doing something right, Surely I'm not doing something wrong. Of course I'm playing with arguably some of the best players as well on every role, like on EXO. But, for ego's sake, I will say I'm the best, of course. And I believe that myself.
Woo! Love to hear it, man.
So then to sort of dive a little bit deeper as well into the team's thoughts and feelings behind why certain players were fielded, we saw a lot of sort of tug of war between substitutions and what people would be playing on push. You first started to field Lambda, and then we saw that EXO would be fielding Psycho, and that was when you actually took Lambda out and put Quartz back in. Was there a specific reason why you wanted to move away from the Echo comp on that map?
Well, I would give you a good answer, but sadly it's because the enemy team, Bjerg again, he typed Lambda in, and then they put the guy in, so yeah, that was kind of not our decision.
Wait, what?
So yeah, that's about it. We normally play UB calls on that one always because it's Ram Mirror, and normally we play the Moira Reaper right. Especially against the monkey, you just play really fast. It's hard, they can't really dive anything, right? But we don't ever play Echo and Pharah and Mercy and stuff on that on push. Is really not that good. So it's it wasn't a thing.
Were any of you streaming, by the way, for this? Because you could do player POVs and stuff. Were any of you streaming on EXO? I mean, on Twisted Minds? For the matches?
I don't think so.
Would you guys potentially do in the future?
Like co-streams? I know we have some one of our general managers, I think, or I don't know how I could say it, but Willy V, he streams our games and hypes us on and stuff all the time.
Listen, I will pay you directly to stream your POV next season, okay? So could I get could you stream next season, please, man? I want some Slay POV for the next season of Contenders.
Well, talking of next season then, because we know a little bit about what the patch could potentially be given the fact that we weren't playing on live, we weren't playing on Junker Queen buff. Do you think, given the fact that your team mostly fields towards that Ramattra with KSA in the mix, when we move over to summer, the team's going to be feeling that meta hit a little bit more than they would this season?
Well, it's kind of an odd patch, especially we don't really know the new patch that's coming out, but with the Jungle Queen changes, I think if you have a really good Genji, you can play the comp, but you need a really good Genji in my opinion, because if you just play Tracer, you can't really go on the backline with the shout, and you can't really play Reaper because you TP in and you're just standing still, right? So you're just gonna die. So I think for the next patch, I know for example for Team Denmark, when we've been swimming on the current live patch, we still just play Ram, and we win against every other Queen team. So I don't know whether there will be a big shift for our team, unless the new patch that's coming out is going to be really huge and they're going to nerf Ram. But with Ram being how he is, and you can just hold right click for how long is it, Nemesis is up? 8 seconds or something, and you cannot die. You're tanking a window and a dragon and you will not die. It's like, you know, it's some crazy hero, right? So unless they change that, the Ram is still gonna be really good. Only on like some CoF maps and like let's say New Queen Street, a lot of people play Queen. Maybe there you can see a little bit of a meta shift, but for our team, we'll mostly play Ram, I think, again. Maybe Pharah, who knows?
Well, Slay, it's always a pleasure talking to you, man. Is there anything last you'd like to say before we let you go? Any shout-outs or something for your team, for Twisted Minds, or for you individually?
No, not really. Besides that, everyone's the GOAT on my team, you know? And Kellex, he's the real GOAT. He's the best mid support ever. That's about it.
Yeah, you guys played awesome. 4-0 victory. Pleasure talking to you, man. We'll let you go, all right?
Yeah, thank you. Happy to be here.
Yeah, Slay from Twisted Minds, 4-0 victory for them, Moxie. I mean, what a dominant season that they've had in the spring series. What a way to end it for them. I think it was somewhat predictable, I would say, but in that fashion for Twisted Minds to really close things out, I think a lot of Overwatch League talent are definitely looking at these guys. If they haven't already, which if you haven't, you're kind of silly. Like, honestly, for like these guys have been outperforming for the past like 4 months. Obviously in the Pro-Am quals, now over here in the spring series, and surely if they don't get picked up, another season is going to be in their books, more than likely.
I mean, absolutely. Like you said, some of these players have been around the tier 2 scene for a very, very long time. Quartz and Yubi coming to the forefront of tier 2 last year and showing that they only have an upwards trajectory. I was talking about trajectory. We can have a look at the bracket because, Dustin, it's over! It's done! Another season of EMEA Contenders is going to be ending. And while we can look to the future, we can also look back at the past and see how exactly we have ended up here.
Yep, okay, we looked through Twisted Minds. As Slay said, right, they only dropped... he was disappointed that they even dropped one map. They haven't lost a single game. Round robin, now leading to the bracket. Really just overall losing a map is very sad for them. So coming into the grand finals to win 4-0 is incredibly exciting for them. And, you know, for them to come back through Oblivione as well, to get 3-1 victories throughout the tournament. I mean, these are the top 2 teams of the EMEA region so far. Oh, yeah, obviously it's got that second seed. But at the end of it, it really proved that EXO was that number 2, and Twisted Minds was kind of even a step ahead of them. If you were to make like a tier list, it'd be Twisted Minds, then EXO, and then kind of tier list bracket again, everybody else. So these 2 teams truly were the best teams we had in the EMEA region, Moxie. And wow, what games we had for you today. Meanwhile, we still have that grand finals matchup and lower finals matchup in NA, Moxie, and that is going to be happening, I believe, 2 hours early at 3 p.m. PDT. Excited for that one, aren't we?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'd never miss an opportunity to see some tree broadcast time, and he's going to be playing for Saints when they go up against O3 Splash in that lower bracket to see who's going to be able to make it through and head into that grand final where Timeless have already secured their position.
Timeless looking like a phenomenal team right now. You know, obviously getting pretty much a similar bracket that they did with Twisted Minds, which you mentioned it before. It's surprising Wisp kind of already out of the tournament, but the meta obviously potentially not favoring them to a massively high degree. But in the meanwhile, Timeless looking awesome and sitting pretty in that grand finals, ready to go against that matchup between Saints and O3. So we'll see that in just a bit. Obviously, that matchup happening earlier. But meanwhile, here on the European broadcast, guys, that'll do it for us, for myself, Dustin, and Moxie, and everybody else over here at Contenders EMEA. It's been a pleasure watching these games. 4-0 victory for Twisted Minds. Congratulations to them. Hopefully, some Overwatch League talent is looking at them. They look to be on another level at the moment. But, guys, we'll have to see you for the North American broadcast at 3 p.m. PDT. So come back for that one. We'll be right back on this same channel.
Are your Dragon Blades missing the mark?
Do you want to go from a bad Genji to a pro Genji?
Looking for that next big thing to rank up and improve your gameplay?
Well, look no further than our brand new Overwatch Contenders Genji skin! With our exclusive custom-made hoodie, your Genji gameplay will automatically be taken up a notch.
And you'll look more stylish as you team wipe fight after fight.
Just look at that stitching!
To acquire your sick Genji threads,
So you can destroy in ranked and dominate all your enemies.
dude, chill.
Sorry, man, I'm just getting into it.
All you have to do is connect your Battle.net account to Twitch.
After that, watching Overwatch Contenders will contribute to your drops progress.
Letting you claim each magnificent offering, including the keen blade of Overwatch Contenders Genji.